Hello again, YouTube. This is our second Survivor game of the day. If you missed the first one, you can find a link in the description below. But if we'll go ahead and get started now, we'll see if Wimply can continue his winning streak. So this time around on the left, we have the illustrious and magnificent leader of the Narukami, Santotaku, and taking the first turn on the right, we have Wimply with the Royal Paladins. So he starts off with Little Sage Marin and ends his turn. I go on the left, riding my Desert Gunner Ryan, moving Seishin behind him because I need to get over an 8k now. And the first attack, as usual, gets through. I get a critical trigger, which is great this early in the game, and I also make him miss out on a heal trigger and a perfect guard, which is just fantastic. So in my turn, he rides into Lamric, and then he calls out a Knight of Truth Gordon, both of which are strong enough to get over Ryan. But to add a little bit more power, he adds a 7k shield, a 7k booster onto Lamric. Gordon will get through because I do not have many boosters at this point, and I get a critical trigger, making my guard against Lamric a bit easier, but it's still too big for me, so I let that one through as well, losing a Garuda. So it's tied up to, I go into my turn, and I ride into a Thunderstorm Dragoon, and I call a second copy of Thunderstorm Dragoon. Go ahead and attack with my Rearguard Dragoon first. He blocks it with an Elaine from hand, and then I attack with my Vanguard. He lets it through. I get a draw trigger. Probably should have attacked with the Vanguard before the Rearguard, so I can put the power on the Rearguard, but he let the attack through anyways, so probably wouldn't have made too much of a difference. So in his turn, he rides into Alfred, and that is, of course, his main Vanguard. He uses Lean's effect to discard a second copy of Alfred, and then calls out a Gallatin and begins to flood the field, which Royal Paladins do oh so well. And he calls out a Marin, which will allow his Gordon to get up to 16k, which is really the number he needs to hit since I'm playing Narukami. Vermilion is 11k, and they're outside of ride chains like Spectral Duke and Nova Grapplers. You don't see 11k very often, so that 16k magic number should play pretty big for him. So Gordon attacks first to get rid of my Dragoon. He attacks with his Vanguard, gets a draw trigger, and I take the damage, losing a Photon Bomber, unfortunately. And then his Gordon will attack at 21. I drop way too many shields to actually guard this. I probably should have just let it through, but honestly, I didn't want to go down 4 damage this early, especially because I do not have the Vermilion yet. If I did have the Vermilion, I probably would have let it through and then limit braked, pretty much out of necessity, but I'm forced to ride into my Lightning Flash Jin. I have the Photon Bomber in hand to make it a 24k column, and I drive into another Jin and a Red River Dragoon. So shielding not looking so good right now for me. I drove a 0 and a 5, but I do have an attack column next turn. Unfortunately, he's going to force a 10, a 15, and a 10 out of my hand right now. So there's the first 10. Now here comes his Vanguard. I'm not afraid of a double critical really, but he does get another draw trigger and then a Isolt. So I take another damage, going up to 4, and he attacks for 22. And once again, I do not want to go down 5 to 4 right now, so I drop 2 10k shields to guard it. So probably some poor decision making comboed with a really bad hand. But it's time for my offensive. I do have a 20k column in the Vanguard circle, and I'm about to get a little bit of an offensive here. I call my Jin, and then I call my Red River Dragoon and a Shiden in the wrong order, but I go ahead and replace them. So my idea here is that I want to force as many shields out of his hand as possible. So I figure getting rid of a 5k shield with the lone Jin, then a perfect guard in this situation with my Vanguard, and then a 17k attack will force a 10k shield out of his Vanguard unless he just lets it through like he just did. So I wanted to get 3 attacks, and one of them gets through. And I unfortunately drive 2 grade 1s, which will not help me. He calls Blaster Blade, he counterblasts 2, and he gets rid of my genie. And obviously I'm in trouble here. He's going for his attack on Alfred. A critical trigger will finish me here, but I'm hoping that he doesn't get one. And there's yet another draw trigger. He puts on Blaster Blade. I drive. I get a critical trigger, so that's going to make guarding out the rest of the turn a little bit easier, I suppose. Blaster Blade attacks at 21, and he decides to attack Shiden, which I am okay with. And then finally, his Gordon attacks, and I am forced to block it, dropping one of the Ryans I drew last turn. So I stand and draw. I have 3 cards in hand, so the best I can do is force a 15k column on the right and my 24k column on his Vanguard. Another perfect guard out of him using one of the many draw triggers you've got in this game. I drive a Vermilion, which is just, epic timing on Vermilion's part, and then a 15k attack on his Vanguard, but fortunately Gordon can't intercept. That doesn't stop Blaster Blade. So we're going into his last turn. I'm hoping that he is going to have a stroke or something so I can get out of this. Or maybe I'll triple heal trigger or something. But we'll see what happens. Alfred attacks. And I take a long, hard look at the field. I have not gotten a trigger in a while, but obviously I had quite a few in my hand. I drew the critical trigger on my first attack, critical trigger on damage twice. So if I have a heal trigger, I might be able to get out of this turn. So looking at my drop zone and my damage zone, I try and calculate really quickly if I can take it. He goes ahead to drive. He gets the heal trigger, bringing him back to 4. And he gets another Alfred. I do not get a heal trigger. Hey, thanks again for watching. I guess sometimes the cards just don't play the way you want them to. Stay tuned for the next match as our final challenger tries to take out Wimply and his powerhouse Royal Paladins.